What happens when you put a 373.2cc engine producing 43 horsepower into a motorcycle that weighs just 154 kilograms? You get this, the KTM Duke 390 2013 edition. But you just don't stop there. 4 years on, you give it the looks from your latest flagship naked motorcycle. Your reworked motorcycle now weighs 163 kilograms, but instead of letting it slow down, you get 2 Newton meters more of torque, a bigger airbox, and a 55-degree throttle angle that makes power wheelies a possibility on your everyday commute. You probably know the specs by now, so let's just ride it out and get started. So early morning, riding the KTM Duke 390. I personally do own the old KTM Duke 390, and that's why the confidence level on this motorcycle for me is extremely good. And it's been one of my favorite bikes, if not the most favorite bike in this segment, because this guy's been a total package ever since it came out in 2013, and nothing has ever come any close to it when it comes to performance or price in India. I mean, the amount of features and performance this bike offers for the price is absolutely phenomenal. And if you're gonna take a look from the previous version, it gets the same amount of power but a couple of Newton meters more torque. So it's now 37 Newton meters of torque, and the power is the same, the 43.5 horsepower. And what I believe is they completely redesigned the look of the motorcycle. This look comes from the 1290 Super Duke. Bigger airbox meant the seat height had to be raised. So whereas the previous version was somewhere around 810 millimeters, this version is close to around 820 as far as I remember. I'll put the correct number on screen. So the bike got a little taller and the seat height got raised, so the this handlebar feels a little bit lower. Front end has a lot more feel, which helps in the handling. And that's why the bike gained in the department that I really wanted to gain over the previous version. That's the front end feel. The other major change is the ride-by-wire system. Now that's one of the only bikes in this segment to have, I think, the ride-by-wire system, which for future versions can open up the option of traction control or even aftermarket traction control systems. Now another thing that they added was this TFT dash. Now the TFT console has always been my favorite. You can see my detailed review. The most important part for me in this console is the Supermoto ABS, where you can turn off the ABS for the rear wheel, letting the rear wheel slide. So that's a feature that you never expect on a motorcycle of this level, and I'm glad that KTM put that in for the enthusiasts. I think the current price is 2.98 lakhs on road Kolkata, which undercuts the other competition bikes like the Ninja 300, which is very underpowered compared to this, and even the BMW G310 GS. In other markets, I have heard that there are rival bikes which are extremely closely priced, like the Ninja 400 in the US market. Previous bike also had LED indicators and tail lamps, so that was always there, but this one has a full LED headlamp, and which also has a very nice illumination range compared to the previous bike, which was almost unusable in night touring. This one does fine, to be honest. So today's an ownership review, and I have ridden this bike several times before. I have toured on this bike, so we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But I'm gonna also put in some of the owner's experiences, who's my good friend Shagnik, and he's been telling that the only issue he has had is connectivity with his phone onto this console. Yeah, you can connect via Bluetooth, and then you can see who's calling you, and you can control your playlists, like your music playlists and all that. And there is a nice nifty little feature which my other other friend Bishwadip was mentioning that if you're riding and you're going fast, the volume automatically increases, so it kind of senses that and feeds it back into the phone, increases the volume while you're going fast and decreases the volume of your music and calls while you're going slower. So very nifty little touch. But some of the bikes have had issues connecting with the phones. There was issues with the console sometimes shutting down and the LED headlamp turning off and turning on. Those issues were there. Those were software issues with this console, not much on the hardware, but that was also causing stalling problems for a few motorcycles. But subsequently they fixed it using software updates. If you're buying this bike in 2019 onwards, or wherever you're watching this video, I don't think you will be having those problems with the newer motorcycles. Bigger master cylinder, and they have I believe improved it everywhere, like in the bigger disc, and they have got better brake pads right now. The brakes have faded a bit because it's been long since this bike's been used. It has 7,500 kilometers on the odometer, so even after that the brakes are really good. They have a good amount of bite because the previous one was all progressive, there wasn't much bite, but right now there's a good amount of bite, and then there's a ton of progressive feeling going behind it. So the 390, you know, in all of those respects have always been a great motorcycle to just point and shoot. It's one of those, you know, point and shoot cameras. You have the point and shoot motorcycle, you just point it to a corner, you can enter the corner late, you can do some wrong lines and get correction done, corner correction. It won't be much of a problem because the bike's so much responsive. Yeah, sometimes, you know, when you're buying it into the new motorcycle, you might feel that it's a little bit too responsive, but once you get hang of it and you know how to command the motorcycle, you can basically do anything you want. If you saw how that started up, it's got one of those auto starter things which basically you just press it once and it keeps cranking itself till it starts. Whew, the tarmac, the rear tag and has slid out. Not in the best condition of the rear tarmac. To 160, and trust me, we can do a little bit more. The speedometer increase after 155 or 52 is really slow. I mean, you really have to sit there and pin that throttle, and the previous bike I believe was doing 173. So yeah, BS4 did affect the top speed. Moving into the corners, not the best setup. The first time we did it, obviously not really worried about the brake because see, we're just gonna go double braking, and yeah, this bike I'd say about 70-30 front brake, and the front brake's really strong, so I do have a lot of confidence to go really late on the brakes. Now I'm really opening up the throttle, hit the limiter on the third gear there. Let's see, that was a correction, the braking and all that. Very confidence inspiring motorcycle. So even if you're pushing, you know, if there's a mistake that's happening, it's gonna be rectified, nothing to be worried about. And that time we did 137 kilometers per hour in the corner. Now we're heading out. Now we're gonna break it in from 137 right down to 28 kilometers per hour, and as you can see, I was doing it while talking to you guys. There is not much effort that you need to put on the brake levers to get that braking done, and the bike is extremely stiff and stable under hard braking, which means no drama, just a lot of slowing down, which is where it really improves for me. And As you can see, I am just so relaxed on this bike. I am so confident that the bike is gonna slow down whenever I want it to. I can go really late braking on this, and that's why I find this motorcycle to be a great track tool. You know, it's a naked bike, but it's gonna be so good on the tracks. Now obviously we are now going to hit it with the acceleration test. Pretty good 0 to 100 timing.
The KTM Duke 390 leaves me no room to complain on handling. There is a great amount of front end feel in corners, which I never expected on a mid-range naked motorcycle. And as you could see, it held very confidently on both sharp and long sweeping corners. The Metzlers are wide and a very nice sporty rounded profile, but they're H rated in the stock tire, and you can make it better with Metzeler or Apollo Alpha W rated tires.
This motorcycle has pretty much rear set foot pegs, so that may not be comfortable for everyone, but I've gotten pretty much used to it. Upper body is lean forward only 10 degrees, which is a very slight lean forward. I prefer that. I find it very comfortable, and the handlebars are big, so you are sitting really comfortable, and there's a lot of room to maneuver the handlebars, as you can see. So city traffic, filtering, and even swinging the bike, it's very agile, so that's very easy to do. Talking about the touring angle, this motorcycle has a lot of torque, and it's still a lightweight motorcycle at I believe around 163 kilograms curb weight, and for touring aspects they have put in a bigger fuel tank from the previous version, so the motorcycle has an improved range, which is really important on the highway, because the previous one we had to practically refuel every 225 kilometers. You can easily hold speeds of around 120 to 140 kilometers per hour. I've done it solo riding several times, and that's the torque of this engine. If you put it to 6th gear, 120 to 140, trust me, this bike will do it. Wind blast problem is there. Obviously it's a naked bike and it's going to those high speeds above 140 kilometers per hour. There is wind blast, and that can be easily fixed by a lot of aftermarket windscreen options that are available from MRA windscreens, and Puig is there. So these options are there, and they work quite well because the rest of the bike has been very aerodynamically shaped, and there's not much turbulence that's going on. The wind drag is very even, and all you need is that windscreen to add up a little bit to touring protection. I personally have toured on the stock bike, this very bike, on highways several times, and I've not had much issues. I generally wear a leather race suit. That definitely helps up in the touring aspects, and holding 6th gear on the highway, I usually have covered great distances. It's never been a problem for me. This is the owner's experience, and he lives in one of the Calcutta's crowdest of areas, so I do believe him when he says that he doesn't have problems with the heating. .390 is not really meant to do off-road. It's pretty much a sporty naked, but due to its very nice frame and true suspension, it has always managed really well off-road. I wasn't expecting that much mud today, however I'm stuck in mud, and that's where the torque's gonna help me pull. Okay, we're showing ABS failure. That's because it's stuck in mud. Okay, as you can see, the bike's pretty much capable. Still have a lot of grass left to do some stuff. I hope that cow's not hostile. Oh shit, this is not good. Shit, that's really not good. Now standing up on this bike, I don't really feel comfortable. The handlebars are very low, and the foot pegs, my boots are kind of slipping on it, and obviously there's this odd bunch of slush where you can slip. But if you're sitting on the bike, it's not really that bad off-road. Yeah, the suspension's hard and that doesn't really absorb much of the bumps, but it's very rigid. It doesn't wobble around that much, so if you're keeping your steady throttle and you're good off-road rider, I think you can manage this pretty fine. And remember, we're riding in on grass, which is easy, but it's pretty wet grass, so there's a lot of mud and stuff.
Now this is an ownership review, and here's some ownership details. The motorcycle delivers 23 to 24 kilometers per liter mileage in heavy city traffic. That means it can extend to 25 to 27 kilometers in the highway. Heating issues have been rectified with a bigger radiator fan, and my friend Shagnik is comfortable with both the rider and passenger seats. According to him, he would have really enjoyed if the GPS navigation was integrated into the TFT, but I think that's a bit too much because even more expensive bikes do it with a separate screen for GPS. The motorcycle costs around rupees 800 as a basic service charge, and there's 1.7 liters of engine oil that it consumes, changed roughly once every 6 months, and it costs rupees 1300. So it's the cheapest bike to maintain by far in its category. If you see the service costs of the Ninja 300 or the BMW G310R, you might just buy this motorcycle without a second thought. Spare parts are also reasonably priced, but over the previous version, now you have got LED headlamps and a very expensive TFT, so if you break or damage these parts, they could be expensive to replace. The motorcycle was launched at a price of 2.68 lakhs on road Kolkata in 2017 and has increased its price by rupees 30,000 in just 2 years. It's still very affordable for the amount of performance and features that it offers, but the price is going up steadily for most of KTM motorcycles. The quick throttle may be a lot of fun for experienced riders, but the previous bike had a 90-degree throttle angle, and honestly that was a lot beginner friendly. People are picking this up as a beginner bike. I think the throttle angle should be made wider for beginner riders, or at least in its A2 licensed version.
The 390 Duke has always been my most favorite affordable performance motorcycle. I've toured a lot on this bike, I've driven it in the city, I own the previous version myself. This is my friend Shagnik's bike, and he's put in some of his inputs as well, as you've already heard in this review. So overall, the best package. If you are going to look for something more comfortable, there is the Dominar. If you want to stay in the city a little bit more mileage, you have the CBR 300R. If you're looking for one perfect motorcycle to suit all of your needs, this is your motorcycle. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Hit that subscribe button, turn on that bell icon, and now you can also sponsor our channel by hitting the sponsor button below, which is a new feature we have launched, so you can check it out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you very soon. This is Rahul. Goodbye.